Gonna go outside and get my book.
Yes, the holy text of feminism.
Oh God, this. I kept telling everybody the whole time, like, this book sucks. I probably said that like a million times.
So
And I was like, I'm gonna read it.
It's real bad.
I'm a DNF. This book sucks, but I pulled through.
I am so proud of you because I know how much of a slog it was. It was awful. Hi, Kelsey. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how long it took me to read this.
I'm sorry, I'm reading a really bad book. I thought it was gonna be good.
It took me a long time to read this. I was like, why is it taking me so long to read this book? I was like,
horrible, because it was horrible.
I read 2 whole books during this book. For real.
Okay, so during the time that we read this, I read Future Home of the Living God in 24 hours. I read The Winter's War in 2.5 weeks.
I think that was me. Maybe, yeah. I read Reaper at the Gates, and what else did I read? Actually, I think I read 3 books.
Yeah.
Let me see.
It was
There was parts where I was like, okay, it's gonna get better, and I was like,
Yeah, I read 3 books, but I woke up early and I was on my power to have book 2. And I think I messaged Rachel like that afternoon, like, no.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't DNF it. Okay, so do you guys want to share your channel names, introduce yourselves, and what your favorite book is? Obviously not this one.
oh. Oh, okay. Who's that? Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
Hi. It's my first live show, so I'm like, what do I do?
Yes,
Do I
it's
get a
Kim's
Zoom? Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do I do? Do I I don't know. It's a long story. It's stupid. But anyway, hi, my name is Kim, and I'm Tobacco Clan or Satoa from the village of Tewa from Hopi Land. And my channel name is Native Lady Book Warrior. And my book, I think my favorite book, I have 2 for this year, has to be The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, and then The Break by Katharina Vermette. So a lot of trigger content warnings for those books, but they were excellent. I was like, oh, yeah, they were amazing books. I don't know. Yeah, I'm done.
By the way, my turn. I'm like looking through my Goodreads, like, what's my favorite book this year? I love it. But yeah, my name's Mahalia. It's pronounced like Mahalia. In case you guys need that, my channel is Nerded This Way. My favorite book, my favorite. They are Shrike and Shadow by Paul Gadori. I have to type that up. It's really bad. And The Hollow Pot by Jessica.
Nice.
Oh, sorry. I didn't read that. Wait for it. No. I gotta go back and read slower. So, yeah, those are my 2 favorites.
Hi, Andy. Yes, I hated it. Hi. Yeah, you don't need to read it. No, you just don't. Okay. So do you guys want to share what you rated it? Mahalia, I know you didn't finish it, but what you did finish, go ahead and rate it.
So I rated it a 2 because the cover is in the blur, but it would be like one. I think I got maybe like 40%, and then I just couldn't do it.
Hey, do you have the video, the live pulled up somewhere else? Because the audio is a little distorted. I don't know if somebody else can hear that. Is the audio distorted for anybody else, or is it just me?
No.
Oh, no. It's distorted for you, Elliot?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Mine is good.
What in the world is happening right now? Okay. Maybe it's my webcam. I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay.
I couldn't finish.
All right. Kim, do you want to share your rating?
Oh, it was interesting. So I was chatting with Rachel. Was it by Twitter or I don't know? We jump back and forth between Twitter and IG. It's weird. Like we'll be like, and then, yeah, and then but when I was probably like maybe a third of the way, it was a 2. I was like, okay, I'm seeing some problems, but maybe I'll get better later. And then I finished it and I was like, I'm giving this a 1 star. It's like maybe 0.8976 stars. If you round it up, it's gonna be a 1. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was just, and then okay, so maybe I'll share. Oh yeah, I'll share this later. But I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get my glasses. I can't even see you guys. I just see circles.
Okay. I can't even wear my glasses because the glare. It's too much.
I don't have to wear glasses anymore. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
hey, Bree.
I'm still doing this though. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I go like this. Like, where are my glasses?
Yeah. Well, my hair is like usually like coiled and stuff, so I can't put my glasses on my head.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so since we're live, other people don't know. So for my birthday, my mom and my sisters paid for me to get LASIK surgery, and next week will be a month, and then I can like rub my eyes and like be a person again. Because you can't like rub your eyes, you gotta like have these drops, and then you're like,
oh my gosh, I can't.
I think I can see.
I can't even go like 10 minutes without touching my face.
Yeah, I realized to touch my face a lot, especially around my eyes because my glasses. I used to have like the big oversized ones so I can like see everything at once. Yeah. So I'm still doing the whole like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. I know when you were talking about, we were talking about how you had to wear the goggles. I was like, goggles? Whole goggles? No.
Really ugly. And then the sunglasses were like, they're great, but they're ugly. They're like, like awful dad glasses is kind of what.
Yeah. All functionality. No fashion.
The goggles, I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. Like, I get it. You don't want to wet your face for like 2 weeks, and you want to make sure you take your little antibiotic drops. But I didn't realize how much I move in my sleep because the goggles would be like, like this. And I'm like, oh, no. So, like, throughout the night, I'm like fixing the goggles. Ugh.
Kelsey says, what's it like to wake up in the morning and be able to see?
That's crazy.
My husband will show me something from across the room, and I'll be like, I can't see that. Why are you holding something up? I can't see.
Yeah. And I'm like one of the people that are like, really with contact. Like, I would pull contact in and try to fall out. So I can't do it.
Okay, so Mahalia, you DNF'd it. Do you want to share why or what part and why?
So I got my Kindle. I was like, oh, maybe it's just me and I'm not really reading this properly. So I got the Audible, right? And I couldn't keep the character straight. I didn't know who was who because it kept like flashing back and forth. And then it started to kind of pick up where you can tell, like, oh, this is the one thing, and like it had like all this build up, and then it just kind of like, no, I'm just kidding. And I was like, wait, no, let me go back. And I felt like it wasn't even going anywhere. The character started to become a manual. My favorite character. Oh no! And then like that one scene, I texted you and I was like, no, enough. I can't do this. I've been up since 6 a.m. trying to get through this book. Like, I didn't understand like the purpose of the book. Like, I got that there was a curse, and I just, maybe it was just me, but now I'm glad that it wasn't just me.
It was not just you.
I was like, oh, maybe like this is over my head, and I just not in the mindset to like understand.
Nope, it was just bad. It was just bad.
I don't remember the female character names either. What about you?
Yeah, the character names, first of all, were so odd, and it was just in service of like sounding like a typical fantasy book where the names are different. And because I already hated all of the book, I was like, these names are stupid. Everyone is stupid. Everything in this book is stupid. Every name is garbage, and I hate it here. Like, that was every time I had to read the name Chanlix, I was like, why is this book in existence? Why is that her name?
Oh, it's Chanlix? I was like, Shanlix?
I hope that she meant it to be like Shan Lee or something, but it reads Chanlix.
Yeah.
I hated the book, so that's what I'm going to call her.
I was thinking like for a while, because my daughters, they're like really into Friends right now. They just barely discovered Friends. So I was reading like Chandler, and I was like, maybe it's Chanlix or is it Shanlix? And then my daughters are like, maybe it's like Shanlay or Chandelier. And I was like, whatever. But yeah, this book, I have like a lot of tabs, but most of them are like problem areas more than I think. Okay, so the magic was interesting, but the different names for the moats or whatever that are floating around in the air, I couldn't keep them straight.
Right.
I like that there was like a recipe or whatever for this spell, and I was kind of hoping it would be like that through the whole book, and then it kind of just throws it at you like you automatically know what it's supposed to be, but without giving any description of like what is the root of that magic item. Or I also the magic was heteronormative, which is very not cool. And then I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe she's going to turn this into something, or maybe somebody who identifies as a different gender can use everything or something like that, right? Because they split them up into male, female magic or whatever, but they didn't. And
it never happened.
Yeah, it's very heteronormative. I just made the assumption that all the characters were white.
Yep.
All the characters were like high upper class.
Yes.
I didn't like that. And then also, I found, and then also like what you said, like, remember I watched your video the other day. Well, it's been a while. Where you're talking about villains and the mustache villain. And that's what the guy felt like. He felt like a mustache villain. And then
he was the worst.
Yeah, he was awful, but then the fat body shaming kind of bothered me. That bothered me quite a bit. Like when you were saying, yeah, there's fat shaming, and I was like, what? I didn't see anything. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Me too. I did the same thing. I was like, wait a minute.
When I got to chapter 16 of this book, and I had to read about this Abigail who is trying to basically like test this spell on this dude to make him be impotent because she, wants to get revenge on him. I understood that she wants to get revenge. I get it. He treated her poorly as like subhuman, and she wants revenge. Fine. I get it. that's a little problematic when you make like the whole of the book later on about that, but whatever. The problem is that the author, took more time describing this man as fat than she did as a man who had bad behavior. So is he bad because he's fat? Is he fat because he's bad? Or is he just bad and it doesn't matter what his body shape is? Like, I was like, why are you going on and on about how fat this man is? And then later on in the book, Delnamal, who's like the mustache twirly main villain, right? That guy's the worst. And why is he so bad anyway? We have no idea why he's so hateful.
They never
explained.
Never
explained.
Because they talk about his mom and how she is. She seems, I wrote notes on her, how his mom is very politically smart.
Yes.
She's trying to give him advice. And I was like, oh, I hope I read more on her, but they don't talk about her anymore. And then his dad is the same, right? But I was like, well, how did he get like that? Like how
that was the perfect time to talk about toxic masculinity, how there could have been a role model for him that did portray these behaviors. But it never happened. There was not any sort of like portrayal of why like patriarchy is so insidious, why toxic masculinity is so insidious. It was just like overtly, these things are bad. And I'm like, okay, but why? Like, talk about it with some nuance, please. Ever?
Maybe they were like leaving holes from what I like the small part that I read, because I was like, okay, maybe, like I said, this was over my head, and since this is a trilogy, she's like setting everyone up, because I'm not gonna read it, everyone up to like get these holes filled in with some like really cool magic system that the women learn. And now that you said that, I'm kind of like,
yeah. So the magic, I think it was an interesting concept, but it didn't really get delved into or fleshed out as much as anyone would like who likes magic, because the main point of this was really to make a point about reproductive rights, but the author never really made that point. She was just like, I want to get revenge on bad men who are also fat. Like that was her main goal. I was like, no, that's not good feminism.
I felt like she kept talking about like the fat as if they were like angry because they were fat, and so they had to be a bad guy. I was like, no, I don't think it's that deep. But then I was like, oh, maybe it is, because we found that it's a trilogy and there's a novella, so maybe it's just above our heads. I picked this book. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying not to.
Well, so one of the characters that I did like was the daughter. But I mean, are we talking spoilers now, or?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
This is all just going to be spoilers.
So
sorry.
I loved following her. I was kind of like, all right, cool. Maybe it's going to transition to where she has her own POV, right? But she doesn't end up having her own POV. And she's, I think she was my favorite character out of the, but yet they didn't really talk about her a lot. And then at the end, for Del, I was just calling him Del, the half brother, got back at his sister, Alice, by chopping her head off. And here you go, here's your daughter. But I liked everything before. Remember when she went to the other kingdom, the Roz kingdom, or however you say it, and the interaction between her and that king really intrigued me. So I was like, ooh, I can't wait till where this goes. There's maybe like 30, 40 pages left, or 20 or whatever, but it didn't go anywhere. She just got killed. And I was like, what was the whole point of that chapter then? Like, why?
What was the as soon as we find out that Alice's daughter is dead, I was like, then what was the reason for all of that? Why did you waste my time?
Wait.
Oh my God.
I'm like, huh.
They're so forgettable. you can't remember who's who with these
No,
ridiculous
I'm like, was the daughter the one that was like, Mom, I'm gonna get married. It is what it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was
Yeah.
like, ooh, she already knows. Like in my head, I picture like Game of Thrones characters. So I figured to remember them.
Yeah, that makes sense. It almost had that, right? Like it almost had that Game of Thrones feel with the politicking, but then it just failed so bad. It was so bad. Why was it so bad?
Characters, too many
Well,
people.
even then, you can't really compare it to GOT because a lot of the characters they weren't getting advice from themselves. They weren't driving the decisions. They were kind of interacting with people around them, and those decisions were very male driven. But also, like, I don't. So A-list. I read the back, and it says like, what does she say on here? Oh, it says A-list is a single mother of two who is only discovering her fierce talent for politics. I was like, ooh, and I was like, that didn't happen till way later.
Like
and
the
then
last thing.
yeah, but even then she was frustrating me because she was like, oh, you're gonna teach women how to fight, like, you know what I mean? It was, so I was like, yeah, I have a lot of post-its like, A-list, you're annoying me, or
okay, so the internalized misogyny in female characters in this book was wild to me, especially Alice, A-list, whatever we want to call her. She made fun of her half brother for wearing like a female piece of attire that makes him seem skinnier than he is. So you just emasculated him, which is how toxic masculinity works. Like that's internalized misogyny. What's wrong with you? Like what? You're going
that's what I put right here, fat shaming with a big arrow.
I'm over here like, we went through this whole book and you are fat shaming from beginning to end. This is the last chapter and you are still fat shaming? You didn't learn? What? I hated it. I was so mad about that. I was like, I'm at the end and I'm just as mad as I was 10 chapters ago.
That
oh, I got a question.
crazy.
Who was you guys' favorite male character? She's like,
Kim.
I don't remember.
Not a single damn one.
yeah, me neither. I didn't have a favorite male character, which was interesting because I was going online and I always, sometimes I do this after I read books so let's say I give it a 1 star. So I read all the ones that are like 5 stars, right? Yeah. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Oh yeah, this person was, this person is my favorite character. And I was like, why? So I was like, no, I didn't have one.
I kind of liked mind you, I DNF'd it, so.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he's great. The guy who was like, oh, marry me anyway, Zarsha.
Okay, I'll give him a pass.
Like, he was like so chill about it. He was like, I know you don't like me. I don't really care for you either, but we can make this work. Even though your boyfriend's crazy as hell and he tried to shank me, I'm still down. And I was like, this is a good note to end on. Okay.
I like how you were like, you know what? I'm done now. This is ridiculous. I'm done now.
I was like, and I felt so bad because I was like, oh, we should read this. This is going to be great.
I know. This was Mahalia's choice. I refuse to take credit. I'm just kidding.
I believe it was a mutual agreement. We
feel that we have failed in our choice.
Well, I mean, even I read the back and I was excited to read it.
Yes.
Just by reading the I don't know what you call it, but the description of the book. And then the front, it says Me Too era. And I was like, oh. And that was another thing. So I work with a nonprofit that does training, technical assistance, all the big words with domestic violence and sexual assault and sex trafficking survivors. So that's what I do for work. And there was no trauma no mention of trauma or how they're healing, like how they can heal from what has
Yes.
happened to them. It's just like they gone through a rape and then, oh, they're okay. Like there's no sense of that internal conflict with what has happened to them, basically. And that part really bugged me. I was just like, are they not going to talk about I was like, maybe they'll bring it up later through a flashback or something, but they didn't.
Nope.
And then I was telling Rachel, I was like, wait a minute, this author will describe a rape scene, like, but she won't do a sex scene, like.
Okay, I'm not the only one that does that. Okay.
Yeah.
That scene with the brother, I was like, this is intense.
Yes.
I was like, oh, this is a lot. And I'm kind of sad that she didn't kind of finish that up.
No, she did not. She didn't acknowledge his wife, who he was raping repeatedly. Didn't acknowledge his wife's trauma. I don't feel any of the Abigails, that the women of the Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that their trauma was handled well, explored. In fact, the way that with whatever her name was, Chanlix, the way that I know the name is ridiculous. The way that transitioned from her being a rape victim into her being in a relationship with Tinthinol, I was like, what? Wait, whoa, what? No, she hasn't gone to therapy yet. This is not. No, slow down. I was so mad about that. The focus on that relationship was so ill-timed. Why?
I think she wanted, I don't know. This is what I'm going to tell you what I think my delusions. So her plan was she's going to make this traumatic scene with one brother and then make this like Captain Save-A-Ho kind of like coming in, old Western, tumbleweed, middle of nowhere.
Tumbleweed.
Like, because I was like, oh, this is going to, like, because I stopped. I was like, oh, she's packing on a lot of promises. And I'm like, wait, wasn't that girl like about to shank that guy, giving him the evil eye, and now she's in love? How far did they walk where you could just fall in love like that?
How far did they walk?
I was confused, but as soon as like my character was like, I still love you, the great Jars, I don't even know his name. Oh, Barges. Boyfriend number 2. So boyfriend number 2 is my favorite.
Oh,
so
Zarsha.
Oh,
Yeah.
Zasha.
There it is.
Zasha. Okay, because.
Oh man, I know. Yeah, Lauren said.
Oh, we lost Kim. She'll be back.
Ooh, that was so sad that she didn't nothing, but she didn't like.
Sorry, it fell off.
Okay. Yeah, it was really disappointing because, like Kim asking me who's my favorite male character, it's not like there weren't opportunities. She just didn't take any of them. Tinthinol ended up being his own kind of gross dude man character.
No.
And, yeah, it was so disappointing. I didn't understand. Missed opportunity. There were a lot of missed opportunities. Like the fact that this failed to be intersectional in so many ways, like not only was there no the magic was very binary, right? So there was no like trans characters who may be, identified as a woman, and therefore they can use these woman motes, the magic. I don't really understand it.
Particles is what I thought. I was like, oh, she looked at me and I was like, magic. Like,
yeah. So I thought that would happen, right? And that never happened. There was also just not a single queer character anywhere to be seen, not a single one. And on top of that, every single person was able-bodied. But if you're going to have a whole abbey of unwanted women where women who are unable to bear children are sent to this abbey, you were on your way there. You were on your way to talking about ableism, but then you stopped. Like you could have gone the whole way and talked about how people who are able-bodied are valued and people who are not able-bodied are not valued. But then you didn't go the whole way. I was so mad. I was like, where you missed the opportunity.
I would like to take this time to lower my rating now that I know drop a star. Let's just say nothing. Let's just.
And then all of this happened within a realm of high upper class, like royalty. Yes. I was kind of hoping to have at least a perspective of somebody who was lower class.
Yeah.
Even that would have. No, I wouldn't have given a star. Maybe, I don't know, depending on how that carried out. But it just, yeah. I was hoping for queer characters. I was hoping for somebody of color. And the only thing that I remember reading was that her brother is nut brown or nut colored or something. I was like, peanut, like that, because that's not very dark. Or is it like walnut? Is it
it a cashew?
Is it cashew nut? Or is he brown because he's a soldier? He spends a lot of time in the sun, so he looks darker. So that was another thing too. And I was like, wait, he couldn't have been a person of color because his mom and his dad were both royalty, right? So I assumed that he was just white. And that bothered me too. I was like,
Yeah, I feel like that was a cop-out. She didn't want to talk about or didn't know to talk about the intersect of like race and gender and how those exacerbate each other and work off each other to further oppression. So instead she was just like, I'm going to make everybody racially ambiguous. And I was like, no, why don't you talk about it? What? Why?
Good. Good. And she made them all kind of look alike too.
Yes. She was like, I'm going to throw random words out that sort of sound not white. There you go. I was like, no, that's not how that works. You didn't put the work in.
It can't.
It's like she kind of like was like, okay, I'm gonna take an Abby. In my mind, I was like, oh, these women are nuns now. But it's actually like a red light district. And I was like, ooh, that's risque. Okay. And then I was like with the complexion and stuff, I was like, maybe she doesn't want to commit to it. Because I feel like in certain books describing people of color is like a hit or miss, which I don't know why. If you look on Google and you look up palettes for face foundations, I'm pretty sure you can use Revlon's like little markup. But
authors take note.
It's not hard. Or you can ask like a friend. If you don't have a friend of color, you can go on YouTube because I'm pretty sure there are videos that explain the different hair textures. Maybe she just kind of was like, I'll go up to the line, but I'm not crossing it. Because
that's exactly what she did.
I thought they were like, I thought it was like an Eastern effect because of the the skin color, because in certain ancient civilizations that royalty never went outside. So their face was like really light and pale and porcelain and precious. But now I'm like, oh, she just couldn't commit. Ooh.
No, she made it so ambiguous. And I was like, okay, so what does everyone look like again? Because it wasn't clear. Like, what is that colored?
I thought also every POV was going to have their own chapter.
Yes.
So but then she did it by, I don't know. It would have been even nice to have a name within each chapter so you know who's coming up, but that didn't. So I was like, okay, where am I at now? Oh, okay, I see this name. And where's that at? Then I was going back to the map and I was like, okay, they're right here. And then, and the only, in my opinion, I don't know, maybe I was just kind of reading it not so great, but the only kingdom that was explained was the one Janelle went to, that she was going to be married into. She was saying how beautiful it was. It was cold. It was drab, not a lot of color. And that was the only one. I don't even remember what they said about, was it Alta? Is that
I
what it's
don't
called?
remember anything about Alta. The only things that I could picture that were described was Women's Well. Is that what they ended up naming the city?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then, like you said, the country that Janelle ends up going to, Rosenholm or something. Yeah, the descriptions failed so. I mean, there was a lot about this book that it was just poorly written in general. Like the biggest thing that came to mind was, so they said that they were moving the women of the Abbey to a different location, right? And they were like, the men are not going to be able to pay for sex anymore. Oh no, they'll be so mad at the kingdom. And then 60% later, like 40% of the book later, they were like, and the brothels. I'm like, wait, what brothels? I thought you said that they were going to be mad that they couldn't pay for sex anymore. What happened? What happened to that? But no, it was completely, there was no continuity. It was just like she forgot that she only made one brothel, and then she's like, oh no, there were more brothels. Oh, well, okay. Now you tell me.
I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
that assumed then. Like she expected you to just kind of like 2 and 2 is 4, and this and this makes this. But yeah, like when she was talking about, I can't think of the Cowboy Bebop guy. And they made it like a point to be like, oh, she's walking on her own, and all the other women had it like eventually rode with someone. And I'm like, maybe she don't want to deal with your bullshit. I don't know. Like, but then, like when they get there and they're like, oh, we went somewhere else. It's gonna be like better than blah blah blah. And I'm like, ooh, treason.
Yeah.
And then they're like in love, and I'm like, okay, I can get behind this insta love. Okay.
Yeah, Tinthenall changed sides so quickly. He was just like, today I don't feel like committing treason, but tomorrow I might.
Is the right girl.
For the right girl. We went on a long walk together. Things changed. Like, what?
And then I was kind of hoping the author would explore more of the brothers' relationship to show why what's his name was so evil and insecure, and that's why he had all these things. But that didn't pan out either. And I was like, wait, I don't know, but that is one thing that I love. Like, I don't have to have a lot of plot. I'm a character-driven reader.
Yeah.
And I didn't see a lot of that. Like, even the Zarsha guy, I wanted to like him, but I couldn't really trust him because he is manipulative and all these other things. He's saying all of this stuff. He's like, oh, I'm not a spy, but I just happen to be where I'm at, and talking in code. And I was like, so what are you, Zarsha?
Just say it.
Just tell us. Like, and his character was like this the whole story.
Yeah.
I mean, you would, yeah, and you think that it's like in the beginning, it's intriguing. He's intriguing, Zarsha, but then it just stays like that. He doesn't go anywhere. And then the same with Alice. I was kind of waiting for her arc to happen. I was like, when is she gonna get? I want to see the rage in her, and I want her to get mad and crazy and just say, yeah, I'm gonna burn down this kingdom. And yeah, but anyway, but that didn't happen either.
Yes, and not only that, but she was put into a position where she was supposed to rule, right? By a man. What? No. This whole book is a feminism. It's a feminism, but then a man decided for her that she was going to be the queen. What? No. That was the ultimate. I was like, ultimately, no matter what happens the rest of this book, it's getting 1 star from me. It gets no stars, but Goodreads doesn't allow that. A man decided for her that she was going to be the queen, and she was like, I don't think I really want to. And he's like, your opinions are stupid. You're a woman. What do you know? That's basically what the author did.
I feel like she shouldn't have put the Me Too movement in there, because if she didn't, you wouldn't be like, oh, men aren't going to be like that big of a deal. And then when they, like, hey, I think you should become an empress instead of being like the cool sidekick that's kind of shady. It seems like he gave her this title. And I have a question. I don't know. Maybe this is just over my head. she was raised in that castle, right? Like in the like.
Yeah. Kim, do you remember what happened? So her mom got kicked out, and
Yeah.
then she was still raised in the castle, or did she go somewhere else?
I think they had their own manor, right? Or no, that was with her husband.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
with her husband. Where'd she
Yeah.
live?
Yeah, she might have still been raised there. It was her mom that was put in the abbey or whatever. Remember, her mom was the one who killed herself.
Yeah, where did she live until she got married? In the castle then, I guess.
Yeah, they were just illegitimate because then how would her half brother got to where he was? Because he's like this big soldier person. So, and then he married his second wife to strengthen like ties with another kingdom.
Yeah.
So they're like, give it a boop, boop.
He like gifted his wife like a Christmas present to another. Okay. But so my question is, if you grew up in this castle, whatever, how is it that the man you're supposed to marry knows more about these secret tunnels than you do? Have you? I don't know, because in the Secret Garden, the movie, like way back when, you knew about because she was like moving through the tunnels and stuff and finding.
That was a different kingdom.
That was Ellen. Oh, but you make a good point. How did he know and she didn't?
Because he's a spy. He's a spy, you guys. Spy.
I'm like,
oh no.
I'm like, nobody, not even the maid knows, but they should
writing
secret tunnel thing for mistresses. That's okay.
The writing, it's so bad. It just continues to get worse the more we talk about it.
Like my rating is like questioning it, like I don't know if that's
and there was and when you have multiple characters, this is just my opinion, I'm not an author, I don't write, but what I enjoy is when that transition from, let's say, Janelle to how many chapters later, pages later, or Alice or whoever, it has to be seamless. But there was like huge chunks missing, or even the POVs, sometimes they weren't relating to each other.
Not at all.
They were like way off, and I was like, okay, what's happening now? And I'm just gonna say it, her writing was also passive. I didn't feel like, yes, this is wrong and this is why. It was like, like yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like Charlie Brown.
Like Meg Grayson, this like soldier from the mountains, Mulan style, and then he's like beat up in a closet like a little kid, and I was just like, does that mean that this like secret lover Zarsha is just that like cool and he's just like that badass? And I'm like, but that doesn't make sense if Grayson lost and he's supposed to be captain of the guard.
Yeah. See, to me, Zarsha existed to just do all of the things that Ellen could not do, or the author did not want to let Ellen do. And I was like, this is stupid. Why don't you just make her better? Why don't you just make her a better character and not have to have a man to make up for all the crap that you're not doing with her? It's so annoying.
I also didn't like the fact that, remember that little magic whatever, or Kai, right? The female Kai would only appear after they got brutalized. Yeah. It would only appear after they got raped.
I have so many issues with this. I don't even know where to begin with this, because the more that I think about it, the more mad I get. Like, the ultimate thing is she wanted to be like, the ultimate magic comes from you being raped, and here you go. Now you can get back at your tormentors. And it's like, wait a minute. This doesn't feel like feminism to me. This is weird. It's really uncomfortable. And they were like using that, but not ever talking about their trauma ever. And like Tintin was like, hey, we can weaponize that. And I was like, boy, wait, no, Can we get a therapist in here, please?
There's no time for that. There's no time for any of that. Like, that's something that you bring up, Kai, because I was like, okay, delusions setting in, because I'm like, this book is going to be better. It's got to. So I was thinking, like, okay, so if you would explain the Kai being something triggered by the chemical, neurons in the brain, and then you have to, like, go through something super traumatic for it to trigger it, and that's how you see it. But now I think I'm, like, more ahead of the author than her story was, because I feel like that would have made it, like, an explanation on why they could see it after they were brutalized. Because I didn't even think of that. I'm like, oh, snap. Yeah, they had, like, little green darts around them or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's in book 3 and we just don't know.
I like how you keep giving it the benefit of the doubt.
I mean,
well, I read ahead to the next book to see. No, I didn't read the next book. I read the the Goodreads thing.
The epilogue?
Oh, okay. I was
like,
why would you put yourself through so much pain?
See, I'm not having my words today. They're all stuck inside me. But anyway,
for us.
But no, somebody reviewed the next book, and there were way less reviews than the first book.
Yeah.
But they said that it's just as heteronormative. Yeah. So.
Great.
Yeah, that there wasn't that. I think they said they introduced a person who may have been blind. Was she blind? But she's only in there for a tiny, tiny little bit, like I don't know. Was she blind or was she deaf? I can't remember if she was hearing impaired or if she was blind, but I don't remember. But I was like,
introduced in book 2. She should have been in book 1. Like, there should have been a disability rep immediately. Like, that should have already existed. I cannot.
I was trying to figure out what she was gonna do with the characters. Time for all that. There's a lot going on in this book. Like, she made a lot of promises within the first few chapters, and then it kind of like seems like it just kind of mudslide down, because even when, like, the curse starts and it's like the crone, the mother, and the child, I'm like, ooh, this is about to be epic. And I'm like, wait, what about the half brother's wife? She's, like, from a kingdom that's kind of like,
oh yeah, I forgot about her. Okay, well, I forgot about her too. Is it Chevron?
Chevron something.
Let me see.
I do not remember. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Maddie, you
taking meds or something.
Maddie, I think DNF'd it because the portrayal of sex work in it was terrible, and I agree.
The portrayal of what?
Sex work.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't even mention they're being sex trafficked. That could have been.
It failed to differentiate between sex work, which, if you want to do that and want to do that safely, and that's like your chosen job, fine, all more power to you. And being forced into sex work against your will, which is trafficking, like,
that's the point of the book, though. The unwanted women.
It never differentiated between the two. Like, it never showed that sex work can be empowering. It only showed that it just basically said sex work bad.
And yet.
TV just joined, and here I am, like, sex work.
But I thought that's what, like, the purpose was. Like, they found this town, and they're, the leader that walked the whole way there with Cowboy Bebop. And now I'm like, was he in control of the whole thing, and we just, like, assumed? Or that I assumed? I don't know. But I'm really glad to finish it.
Yeah. So basically it was like, oh, they left and now they're, like, free to do other stuff that isn't sex work. And it's like, yeah, but what about those who, like, still, what if there are some who still wanted to do that? Like, it never took the opportunity to have the conversation of sex work can be empowering. Like, it was only sex work bad, not sex work good. Like, that's it. No nuance to it.
Or even, like, how they were vulnerable or
Yes.
no, how they were targeted to be sex trafficked in the first
Yes.
place, and who was benefiting from them being sex trafficked. So that was another thing. I was like, dude, this is so big. If you don't know like what sex trafficking is, or you just look at them as prostitutes, which is also a really, really bad thing about this book that I didn't like. It was just like, oh, prostitute. And I'm like, okay, but that's very stereotypical
Yeah.
when we look at people who in that type of environment, especially when it comes to okay, well, why is it that they're selling? Why are they being bidded? Why are they put like, just there's no root of everything. It's very surface.
Yeah.
It's all crust and no like dessert or no bottom part or anything.
There was no dessert, and I am very upset about it.
She didn't like build up the town or anything. She just kind of looked like they're out there in the wilderness. Cowboy Bebop and his sister have come to save the
Sex
day.
workers.
I don't know.
Cowboy Bebop.
That's actually an anime. It's wonderful. But
So Cowboy Bebop, he was like, I want to free the women because naturally all freedom that women have comes from men. Thanks, men. So he was like, here, we will build actual homes and we will commit a treason and not have you do sex work anymore. And then he was like, hey, this neighboring town wants us to sell them potions and we will make this whole entire market of like we have potions, they have lumber. And so he like created this whole town. And then his sister comes in and he's like, you get to be the queen. And she's like, I don't want to be queen. He's like, too bad. And then he weaponizes their trauma. It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
I hated it
I'm
so
going to
much.
delete this from my year challenge. So just bite that bullet. I feel like darn it. Okay, so what I thought would happen, because I didn't finish it and you guys are amazing. I'm sorry I picked this book. But
It was 500 pages. Why?
I'm so sorry. I thought, well, you agreed. Wait a minute. Hold on.
No, I mean, why was it so long?
Because he had so many plans. Like, I felt like
Yeah.
where she was coming from, like with the Cowboy Bebop, that since he didn't speak to his mother, that this town was going to be like his way of apologizing for not speaking to her. And I was like, yes, I'm still not going to finish this book though. But that was like my idea of how that was going to go.
That could have been an interesting conversation. Yeah.
So just from all what you guys said, I'm like, there could have been like a lot more character growth, and then having the men as like support and not depend on them. I felt like probably could have been better than like, you do this, you saw her, we did this, we're great, and we're men, and this book is about unwanted women that make potions to be cute and to birth control, and then a curse is activated to where we can't have children, but we are still sold and assaulted. I'm a little Jenna Glass.
Did you guys see the title of the next one?
Queen
Oh
of
my
the
gosh.
The what?
The Queen of the Unwanted.
Wow.
Why? That's because, and I feel like I said this before, that's because she literally had the same interactions multiple times. Like, Kim, do you think that all of the interactions between Zarsha and Ellen did there need to be that many, or do you think that they could have been whittled down and just condensed into like 2 or 3? Like, did we really need all
Well,
that?
I wanted more, but with growth. But if there wasn't, then yeah, cut it out. Or I that sounds very mommy-ish. But yeah, take it out and don't yeah, take it out. And then also a lot of I struggled through Alice. I didn't want to read her anymore. And I was like kind of like crossing my fingers, oh, something's going to happen. Like they're going to give me this big plot but I didn't. There was a point where I almost just wanted to skip over her POV chapters or POV paragraphs, but no, I stuck with it.
By the end, I was dialogue reading it. I was just listening to what people were saying, and then I was done. I was like, I'm not going to read all this filler where Jenna Glass talks to herself about what great feminism she did in this book. Like, I'm all done listening to your narration. Just tell me what your characters are saying. I'm done.
Oh, 600 pages for the second book. I'm wondering, like, because based off of like our conversation so far, she made a lot of like promises, and you guys are saying she just was like, and period, walk away. Promises there, wait for book 2, but why is it 600 pages? So I guess this is a spoiler question. So like the curses up there, are they like investigating it still? Or are they like, your mom is evil and you're the empress, but it's all good because we sell women?
No, they quit trying to reverse it, and they were just like, well, we'll just ignore the fact that women can't get pregnant unless they want to now. We'll just subjugate them anyway.
I think there's more perspectives in the next book too.
Ooh. Her perspective switching is another reason why I DNF'd it. I couldn't put one person in like this category and their voices were all the same, and
that was painful. That was painful to get through a chapter and it switches on and off and on and off, and you're like, now you're over here with this person. Now you're
so you see
here.
Do you see this post-it? It's blank.
Yeah.
I usually put in here like awesome stuff, but it's blank. Like stuff that are different and that just wow me. I was like, oh my gosh, I do this with every book. Sometimes I'll have like a whole bunch stacked on here, but this one's blank. It's sad. And then
the only thing that I thought was good about this book was that it was nice to see a mom as a main character.
Yeah,
you never see that, and that's because women are typically only valued up to a certain age, and that was nice. I literally can't think of another thing that I would say was good about this book. It's not even like that was done well. I was just glad to see it, but then the characters sucked. Like Alice was the worst.
Yeah, there's a lot of family issues that she could have resolved. Because like now that I'm thinking about it, it's totally no stars. But like she has this the 2 brothers. One is like fat, angry, sneering at his wife because he doesn't like her and he doesn't like that all this other stuff. And then you have this like cowboy. I don't care if you have a backstory. I love you for who you are. My mom was the Abbey Queen, and the sister that's kind of like, meh, I'm okay. I'm here. Where do you need me? I felt like she could have kind of done more with that, like the entanglement, since the half brother he was the cause of the, mass assault, and then the other brother kind of came in and it doesn't sound like he fixed anything. He was just like, let's just put a band-aid on a gunshot wound. It's fine. Like, all is well. They'll figure it out. And I'm wondering if she did that on purpose because the second book talks about, that in a way. And also, like, did she, like, cover the fire and all the trauma with, no, of course not, because she didn't even, never mind. Yeah. I want to redo I want to redo my book pick. This was an accident. The cover got me.
The damn cover. So it said on the front, a fantasy for the Me Too movement, Me Too era. And I don't know how I feel about that. I feel a little weird about that because it feels like it's taking the Me Too movement and it's saying revenge is the best outcome that we can hope for instead of working through trauma and working through trauma together and being there for each other. And I hated that.
And then also the accountability thing is missing.
Yeah.
How are they going to hold these oppressive and misogynistic, sexist, whatever structures to be accountable for what they've done? Mm-hmm. And that was very surface level, very skimmed the surface. I don't even I think Janelle was probably the only character who really stated like you would tell a woman to marry against her wishes. You know what I mean? So even then, like they're still using marriage and sex and babies, heirs as a way to control um, kingdoms and all of these systems. So it really revolved around sex and or consent or what they thought was consent. But another thing, so I remember I was watching your was it the last book club with you, Bree, and she was like, if feminism doesn't have intersectionality, then it's not feminism. And I was like, so, and that's what I just kept putting all over here was just white feminism, white feminism, white feminism. I have a lot of tabs for white feminism. And 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 even with the Me Too movement, like there's a lot of people who are even well, like one of the things that we talk about is like not being silent about what has happened to you and really trying to put it out there that this happened to me. And none of that was in here. There was no acknowledgement of I was raped. This is what happened to me. And what are we going to do about it? And you have magic that can address all of that in all these really cool ways, but I didn't see that. So I was kind of had this really big expectation when I saw Me Too in the front and it was fantasy. And then I read the back and my mind was just building this whole world already. So that's why sometimes I don't like to read the back of stuff.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing a book call, I'm like, yeah, this is the author, and I'm not going to read the back. Next book. So
Yeah, that's what got me. I was like, oh, let's do this one because I had book one. I have book 1 and 2, and it was between the Women's War and I think 5th season maybe. I read the back and I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be super dope. And now I'm like, you missed the bullet, you didn't finish it, so that's why. It's like I'm just like, oh goodness. But she has all these like little moments where she could have done more, and I'm kind of like, it's 600 pages. Like, why are you adding more holes to the story? And who is your beta reader? Who's like,
and your editor? Who is your editor?
Like, yes,
yeah,
yes.
I guarantee you, I would bet money everybody who worked on this book was a white woman, every single one. And they were like, yes, oh my gosh, feminism. And then you mentioned like intersectionality to them, and they're like, who, what now? No. Because there's not a single place can I think of in this book where the author identified a place where race and gender or class and gender or being disabled and gender, none of that. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Like none of that. There was no intersect of anything. It was all just women were oppressed. That's it. Like what?
yeah. That's what the part that I like is like when, especially in stories that have to do with any kind of oppression, is you're really unknotting all those pieces of how that oppression is happening and how complex it is. So when you're talking about intersectionality, especially within plots, you literally have this whole shitty tangled up ball string, and then when you start unraveling it, you see, wow, this is the same string, or wow, this is tied to this, or look at this. But I didn't see that in this book. And I'm reading the back of this, and it says, a portion of the author's proceeds from this book is being donated to Planned Parenthood in support of women's reproductive freedom. And I'm like, oh, I totally missed that.
Here's the problem with white women and reproductive rights, and I say this as a white woman, and I acknowledge that we have this problem, and we desperately have to work on it. We have to stop. So the thing about is that we only see through our white lens that it's a problem in so far as it affects us. Like, oh no, my rights could be taken. which completely ignores the fact that we are not needing to be centered because we are not the most marginalized. Typically, women of color are 4 times more likely to die of childbirth or have negative pregnancy consequences than white women. If you're going to take reproductive rights and shove it into a fantasy, you have to take all of it with you. You have to take all of the context of that with you. You can't just take what affects you and stick it in there. That's not being intersectional in your feminism. So, yeah, that was the whole book.
Based off of world building, she could have done more with it. But I feel like she, in her world, she normalized all of the brutality and oppression. She's like, oh, this is what it is. Because based off what you guys are saying, which may or may not be true, is that the women kind of are like, oh no, we're sold for lumber, is what it is, kind of thing. Where she could have been like, no, we'll make baskets or trying to like use another commodity to trade instead of like women. I feel like in that moment, she could have did more maybe, but it also would have tied into her world building as well, since they have kind of like gender roles going on in here. I felt like now it's just crazy.
When those ideas did come about, they came about through men. The men came with those ideas and implemented them. And I'm like, why? Why did we do this?
I think one of the characters that I sort of appreciated was it Chevron, or what was, you get to see how internally oppressed she is, because she refuses even to open her mind's eye when she's by herself, or she thought about narking out those guys right when they were about to go escape, and what else, and just a bunch of other things. But then I was like, okay, give me more of that. And then it's like 5 seconds before she's about to turn the son and his I think he was like some other soldier guy in for treason. Then she's like, you know what, I'm gonna stand up. I was like, whoa, that was like, I thought she was gonna turn him in. That would have been a really cool plot thing. But anyway. And I mean, even my thing for world building, I did green tabs and I have 5. So well, maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I don't know.
I felt like, because in the beginning there's the fire, right? I felt like from the fire to the moment where she notices that she's kind of like an overpowered character almost. Like she sees the different dust motes and I'm like, ooh. And then, you know, her daughter is like, I don't see it. And you see how the level of her magic is like pretty secure. And then now I'm like, oh no, that was just a hype. I feel catfished. Because like you go from the beginning with her be like, oh, I'm not going to his house. I'm staying in my house. Like to her now being like, okay, that'll happen. Okay. But even with the whole boyfriend thing, that was weird.
All right, so my baby is screaming and we are just at over an hour. So final thoughts. Did your rating change over the course of us talking about it?
Yeah.
I'm still at 0 to 1 stars.
Same. I'm like, yeah, like I don't want to give you my real rating. But it's almost, it's like below 1 stars. And I think now talking with you guys about it, I'm sorry, I say you guys all the time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do that
too. But talking with you all about it, I just felt I was, and most of it was, I was just disappointed and expecting like this really big thing. And then on top of that, to see the author, like what you said, like in the very beginning, fat shaming, and then not addressing the rape, not addressing trauma, not even mentioning trauma, right?
Yeah.
And I agreed with you when you were saying, oh, she could have something happening in the brain, like because when you're raped, there's something physiological going on there, and that could have created magic. I was like, oh, that would have been good, but I was like, okay, maybe we should have her rewrite it and do like, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but I didn't, and it was really interesting that I read 2 whole books during this one.
Yeah.
And to go from something like a Reaper at the Gates to this was Not fun.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison.
Nice.
Ooh,
It was
nice.
so good. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I read this and I was like, oh my gosh. Regret.
Never again.
Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah, so
All
when are we
right.
reading the next book?
You're funny. Well, thank you both so much for being on. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you all for being here, everybody in the chat. This month of December, we are reading Moxie by Jennifer Matu, and our live show date is to be announced. I still have to coordinate that. Thank you all for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.